Hello friends, welcome back to a new video. Today as I speak, you have heard the news. I believe you might have heard the news about there is a diplomatic tussle between India and Canada where the Canadian government had accused uh, Indian government of kind of an extrajudicial killing that is circumventing the sovereignty of Canada. So subsequently they in a way expelled one of our diplomats. As a counter thing, we also did an expelling of one among the Canadian diplomats. So it has resulted in a kind of a diplomatic tussle. So the reason why I'm doing this video is to give an idea about the background of it and the background of the Khalistani movement, and also what exactly the region that the Khalistanis wanted to carve out. So I'll be at times showing certain pics of the map of the Khalistan and what exactly the diaspora. A few among the Sikh diaspora, especially in Europe, Canada, and Australia, and even parts of Southeast Asia, where there are movements that are supporting Khalistan. Even in our Ministry of Home Affairs, we had groups like Babbar Khalsa, which has been banned. And also, if you remember, Babbar Khalsa International had even threatened some of our decorated IPS officers like KPS Gill, Julio Ribeiro. Julio Ribeiro was instrumental in dealing with the Khalistani militants in Punjab, and he himself had a death threat, and he was shot once by a Khalistani militant once he was the ambassador of Romania in 1991. So I'm just putting these facts to show you the background that this is not something that was very new. And now going back to the history, so let's think about what happened in the later 1700s. Okay, during that time it was a time when a Sikh nation was formed. So that Punjab was not the small Punjab that we see in India today. That Punjab had the provinces of present day Punjab and some parts of northwestern frontier provinces in the Pakistan, the Indian Punjab, Haryana, and parts of Kashmir, as well as Himachal Pradesh. So it's a considerable amount of chunk of area. And that nation was formed by none other than Maharaja Ranjit Singh. If you remember, our Ranji Trophy cricket is named after him. So Maharaja Ranjit Singh was one among the Sikh commanders. Sikhs at that time were divided into small missiles. Okay, so there were 12 missiles, and out of that there is one missile called Sukrachakya missile, and he was the leader of that, and he united many small Sikh principalities and formed this state of Punjab, where the capital was at Lahore. Okay, and if you read history, you will be aware that this Punjab state had the second best army in the Asia. So the first best was obviously the British Indian Army. So this state was kind of a buffer state between the British India on one side and the Russian Empire on the other side. So just to have a counter check on the Russians, British also thought like it is better to have a kind of a buffer state between them. And Ranjit Singh, through his diplomacy, made sure that he would not have to fight a war against the British. So till the time Ranjit Singh was alive, this was a very powerful state. And even if you remember 1838 and all, they had even a tripartite agreement where with the British, Ranjit Singh, and the Afghans even put Shah Shuja on throne. So Shah Shuja was kind of a stooge of Ranjit Singh. So he had even influence till Kabul. And he died in 1839, and by around 1849, after two successive Anglo-Sikh wars, the Britishers had usurped this kingdom and made it part of the British India. After that, Punjab as a state did not exist, but this feeling of a Sikh state remained among a few of its diaspora. Because if you understand that Sikh religion also have a very high political element of it. Okay, there is a Gurudwara as well as there is an Akal Takht. Okay, there is Akal Takht is a political thing among the Sikhs, and Gurudwara, as you know, is where you see the Guru Granth Sahib, and the Guru Granth Sahib is considered as the 10th and the eternal Guru of the Sikhs. And the military tradition of the Sikhs had its origin from the 6th Guru onwards, but it had its pinnacle when it reached the 10th Sikh Guru, which was Guru Gobind Singh. He made Sikhs like a warrior creed that we see them today, where he introduced the 5 Ks, which is the Kesh, Kankha, Kacha, Kara, right, and Kripan. So this made Sikhs like a warrior creed, and they adopted the surname Singh, which means lion for the male, and Kaur, which is for the princess for the females. So they were made in such a manner, and the Khalsa, that which literally translates as pure. So, say Khalsa Panth kind of a Sikh warrior creed was generated in a way to fight against the Mughals, because he had like his predecessor, Nand Guru Tegh Bahadur, who was the father of Guru Gobind Singh, was killed by Aurangzeb. So that military tradition, what I am saying this background is because you have to understand that the military tradition of Sikhs was very much alive. And after Guru Gobind Singh ji, it was continued forward by Banda Bahadur. Okay, although he was captured and executed later, the warrior creed and the warrior nature of the Sikh community remained. So after 1849, just say that now the Punjab state was no more. It became part of British India. But Sikh community became much more affluent in many ways, like because traditionally that area was very rich. So if you see Punjab, that area had like a confluence of 5 rivers, and the Doab between these 2 rivers made the alluvium very fertile, and that area had a very good agricultural background. And even the kind of revenue settlement that Britishers followed there, called the Mahalwari settlement, had much more impact in making them comparatively richer than what their counterparts in the Bengal and the Madras would be. So these things, along with that, there was a chain of migration from of the Sikh communities from the initial stages of the 20th century. They had migrated to Canada. They had migrated to San Francisco Bay Area. And if you remember, in the 20th century initial movements, there were a lot of revolutionary extremist movements, like that of the Ghadar movement, that were fueled by the Sikhs. For example, Lala Hardayal, and even the Punjabi Hindu community also joined it as a part of it. But what I am telling is that the Sikh community were having nursing that thing about having a homeland in such a way, and at the same time, once they had their they had their political ambitions at one point of time, and they had a, as time passed, they had a kind of a very affluent overseas community also. And fast forward to the 20th century, what you have seen is basically during the time of partition, although a kind of a Sikh homeland was nursed for some point of time, it was not practically happened, because there were less support for it at point of time. There was a Sikh league at one point of time, but later it lost its political relevance. So now the Sikh community, which is coming for Khalistan and all, it again resurfaced during the 1970s, especially in the form of Anandapur Sahib resolution. Okay, 19. I'll tell you what the basic of it. See, basically what happened is, like, during the time of the agricultural revolution, uh, which was fueled by the Green Revolution. The Green Revolution at many a times is termed as the wheat revolution, because the Punjab area became very rich, because they had large scale farming. Like, it was not fragmented, land was less. So the farmers, even now also, you can see that the farmers of Punjab and Haryana are much richer than the rest of India, because of the holding is much more. So they became, there was a kind of a wheat had an upper hand in many ways. High yielding varieties of wheat were used. So that area became much more richer, and they wanted to have more and more autonomy. So when parties like Shiromani Akali Dal was hoping for more and more autonomy, in some way the government at the center at that point of time even nursed certain kind of extreme fringe elements, who would be a kind of a counter force to Shiromani Akali Dal. That is when people like Jarnail Singh Bhindranwala came to the picture. So when Bhindranwala came to the picture, he wanted the Sikh youth to go back to its roots, because when an affluent community of Sikhs had emerged, there was a huge problem of the drug abuse, which was even seen today also. So Bhindranwala's take was that if you go back to their roots and the Sikh religion and the formation of a Sikh empire or a Sikh nation would be the result of all. But the problem was, initially it did not have the support of Pakistan, because the real Khalistan would mean it would take a chunk of Pakistan also. So the Pakistan also is using the Khalistani militants. They wanted to use the Khalistani militants as a kind of a stooge against India. So basically, it didn't have much of the support, but within India, I can say it didn't have much of a support. Although the fringe elements made certain things, and as you know, in the tragic incident where even our Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had also lost her life, but that feeling is much more prevalent among the overseas Sikh community, because it many a times happens. You see now, like when you are away from your country for a long time, you are in a next or next to next generation, but you still nurse that feeling of belongingness to your culture, religion, and your region. This thing happens. This is what happened. Like so the problem is, if you having an ambition, you are doing it in a democratic way, that is okay, but you are doing it through violence, threats, and even acting like a terrorist organization, which is highly reprehensible, and no democratic government can support it. So this is what the problem is between India and Canada, where the Canadian government is kind of little bit bound to the Sikhs because of the kind of the vote bank there. And at the same time, many of the cabinet members within the Trudeau had some kind of you can say soft corner towards the Khalistani militants. So this is one reason why even certain members of the Trudeau cabinet were literally not welcomed in India also. And if you are aware of the Kanishka bombings of 1985, that issue is still not resolved till now. So these are many backlogs that the Canada, where they are hesitant to act against the Sikh militants, and that is when even very recently some people like say Sardeep Singh Nijjar, where some of the people who were considerable Khalistani officers were shot dead. Two of them were very recently shot dead, and that is where this diplomatic tussle has reached a newer level. And the rest is, as you followed the news, that is it. So my intention was to give you a background of this Khalistani movement, why Sikh religion is associated with this, and why they wanted to have a kind of a glory of what Ranjit Singh did in 1799 to 1849 till 1839. That is the kind of the empire, and that is the region that they exactly want to carve out in the form of Khalistan, where they wanted to have a Sikh state, basically where the state religion would be Sikhism. So they wanted to be a separate religious group, which is having a separate identity with from the Hindus. And yes, they are a separate religion, but you can say many of the traditions have a very deep connection with the Hinduism. Many a times, you see, Sikhism is a kind of a mixture of Hinduism as well as Islam. So this is the background of the Khalistani movement. But before concluding, I would say that what Canada right now is doing is literally playing with fire. Because before stopping the video, I would like to say a saying, I mean, a quote that was made by Hillary Clinton once about nurturing the terrorism in the case of Pakistan. It is just like harboring a snake on your backyard of your house, believing that it would only bite your neighbor. But snake is venomous, it will bite you also. The problem is, if these kind of militants are nursed in some way in Canada, at longer point of time, they themselves will ask for a Khalistan within Canada. Sooner or later, it can happen, because they know that at having a Khalistan in India, that too working from Canada, is not at all a practical solution at this 20th century, because India is very strong in this, and also more than that, the normal population, the majority of the population in the Punjab is very happy staying with India. I don't think they will have any apprehensions to join a kind of a Khalistan movement and to have a separate state, because Punjabis are much well off, and they do have a very good presence in the Indian army and in many good sectors of the government. So although there would be fringe elements, but the majority of the population in the Punjab is far gone ahead from what it had happened. And there was a certain kind of bad incidents that had happened in the history post the murder of Indira Gandhi, but we had recovered from it, and we even had a Sikh Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, ruling for 2 consecutive years. So, but this kind of miscreants who are doing this business in the Canada and all those regions, and this is the time when the rulers of Canada, they have to understand and behave responsibly, and they should also learn from history about what Pakistan had paid the price, where they nursed the militants. At one point of time, it became a bane for the country itself. That can happen to Canada if it is not acted in a right manner. So that's what I wanted to say about this issue. Till next time, thank you. Bye bye. Take care. Have a nice day.